name's Trinity. So I just finally woke up after being up till about 1 or 2 this morning from getting that brooder put together for the chicks. So I guess now I'm recording the intro now that everything's done with. I'm going to try to condense all of the footage of making the chick brooder into one piece. I don't know if I'm going to succeed or not because there's a lot to it. Just to be fair, we're kind of new to using all of the heavier power tools and constructing things. We're learning as we go, but we wanted to share everything that we have learned as we've gone along. So you're going to see a few mistakes, but in the end, I think you're going to be really pleased with how everything came out. And all in all, it is a project that was put together to be both the least expensive with the most function you can get out of it. So the brooder we put together is lightweight. You can take it apart, move it, and reassemble it somewhere. And it's designed to be something that you can make really quickly. So that was kind of what we were thinking when we were deciding to put this together. It's a 4-foot by 4-foot brooding pen, which is plenty big enough to put in lots and lots of little tiny chicks and get them brooded and up and ready to be out into the main chicken coop. So that's what this is all about. At some point, I'm probably going to make a video getting into the story of how it is that my husband and I came to live in the current place we live and the not good condition that we found it in when we moved in, but that's something that we're not going to really go into in this video. Just please be aware that the holes in the walls and graffiti you see is not something that we did. It's something that we're working on trying to get fixed and repaired. The pandemic kind of threw a lot of our plans up in the air. Originally we were saving up money to move, but then I had to stop working because of my autoimmune illness and I was an Uber driver, and our savings went away, and now instead of moving to a new place we have to figure out how to fix this one. So it's going to be an interesting journey, and I'm really glad that I started buying power tools back in February, or excuse me, not February, back in November. So we at least have all the tools we need to get it done. Alright, so here we go, brooder construction.
It's the day.
So I just woke up. We found out there's going to be a problem with the brooder stuff that I ordered for the chickens. So the first thing we're doing is waking up, and then we're heading over to the local lumber yard, which luckily, living in a very rural area, it's an outdoor yard. So we'll have to throw on our masks and our gloves just so that we can interact with the cashier, get some lumber, and then we're going to get started on building a new brooder. So that's what's going on today. I'm going to put a list of all of the supplies that need to be used in order to do this down in the comments below. So check that out so that you know that you've got everything you need to be able to do this project. I love living in a rural place. Nobody here! Just us, a single cashier, and a big barn full of wood. Got masks on. Okay, so here we are getting the wood. 1/2-inch AC. We're getting 4 of these, and then we need 6 of the CDX, which is somewhere over here. We're getting a lot of stuff to do several projects, including the pressure treat for the fence posts and 2x4s for other stuff. We're trying to get everything all at once. Get as much in as few trips as humanly possible. Alright, time to load it up. Okie dokie, so we're home, we've got a bunch of wood. In case anybody's wondering, yes, this is an absolute essential. We need it for taking care of our chickens, which provide us with food, so absolutely. The wind is high out here, so I'm not going to record everything. We're just going to cut the pieces we need here outside with the saw, and then when we get inside, I'll let you guys know what the actual dimensions of everything are, and we'll start putting it together inside with the drill. Am I cute? Do I look good with sawdust all over me?
Yes.
And dorky glasses? Does it work?
You lie.
You look gorgeous, baby. Okay, so to make this as simple as possible, so we cut everything outside, but we're now inside my workroom. So what we've done, just so that everyone understands, this is not being made inside of frames or anything. This is literally being done to use the minimum amount of resources with the least time possible to get the job done. So you take a single sheet of 8 foot by 4 foot plywood and cut it into equal parts of 4. You take one piece of 8 foot 2 by 4, cut it into equal 4 parts. You put one 2 by 4 on that side and one on that side. We're going to drill in our pre-holes to attach them to the board. And then I will explain what we're doing from there. I've made the holes so that when we go in to drill into this side to attach the other piece of plywood, they're not going to run into these screws, but we are drilling pre-holes so that nothing splits. And then we are putting in 1.5 or 1.25 inches, I think they're 1.5 inches, wood screws to hold everything in place. And we're going to do this equally on both sides of our first piece. Make sure that you've already decided on your piece of plywood which side faces out and which one needs to be flush with the floor. So this is the side we've made sure that everything is equal and flush on, and this side is the side that it's okay to have a couple millimeters of excess because this is the top. And we're just going to go into those pre-drilled holes, take our drill with the screw head bit, and fasten those down. Now we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side here, and we'll get right back to you. Okay, so once we have our board that has the two 2x4s attached to it, and again, remember that we made sure that the screws are far enough in so that they're not going to run into the screw coming into the center here. You're going to take your side pieces that are just 4 foot by 2 foot, and you're going to screw them on the outside into this 2x4 block. Remember, you have to pre-drill everything. So there's going to be 2 screws along here that hold it in, and then 2 screws on the bottom. And we're going to do that on both sides of this piece. So once we finish getting all the screws in, I'll be back.
Stop shaking.
Make sure you're drilling straight, because you are drilling into a narrower piece of wood in the 2x4.
And I think right there.
Yep. Now, to properly secure the corners, you're going to take 1.5 inch L brackets, and you're going to need 3 of them per corner, back corner here. So, let me see if I can put the camera right side up so you're not upside down. You're going to put 1 L bracket in between these screws. 1 will go in the middle, and 1 will go on the bottom in between the screws. Let me see. I can't. Okay, there we go. And 1 will go on the bottom in between those 2 screws. And we're going to do that for each of the 2 back corners just to really make everything secure. So we're not going to be using the screws that come with the L bracket because they're a little short, so we're going to use inch-long screws of the same diameter just so that they go all the way through the plywood and bite into the 2x4 for the L brackets. Yep. Alright, so you can see that we've got 3 L brackets in place. It's important that you do both because you need a very strong joint because we're not making an individual frame to attach the plywood to. So make sure not to skip that part. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on this other side. And then we will come back for me to show you how we're going to put the front gate attached onto it. Okay, so you're going to take one of the 4 sides that you've cut out of the one sheet of plywood. So it's going to be 1/4 of the sheet of plywood, which is 4 feet by 2 feet. And you're going to use the rotary saw and you're going to drop cut out 3 inches from each edge. And you're going to take out a window that is 24 inches wide, right there. This is what we are going to attach our hardware cloth to make our gate for the brooder. This, if you are not going to be using radiant heat from an external source like a radiant heater, which is what I'm using, you don't necessarily have to put this in. If you're using a clamp-on heat lamp, you can simply clamp it right to the outside of the brooder. But because I'm using a radiant heat source, I'm putting in this wire window so that it keeps the heat, distributes it evenly so that it does not heat up the wood or burn anything down. We do not want to put that particular heater inside this large brooder space because we don't want the chickens, as they get older, as they get big enough to be able to put their little noses up towards the heater, we don't want them to burn themselves. So we're going to take a piece of hardware cloth, which is 24 inches by 28 inches, so that's 2 extra inches on, hi Fenris, you're such a pretty boy. So 2 extra inches on each side of the drop cut window, and it's the same, the hardware cloth came in the same size as the 2 feet of the plywood we cut out. So let's get to staple gunning that on. So make sure that you staple gun it to the inside piece, so the rougher piece that's going to be on the inside of the brooder. Chickens have feathers, you do not, so you want the staple gunned in hardware cloth to be on the inside of the brooder, so you're not ripping your legs up every time you go to open the brooder gate. So because we have an air compressor, it's just a little bit easier. We are using our air stapler to drive the 1/4 inch staples into the plywood. There's several methods you can use to attach the screen. You can use screws and get them right down onto the edge of the wires. This is just, if you've got the tools, it's already easier. I believe the kit between this air compressor, the staple gun, and the brad nailer, I think I paid like 120 bucks on sale at Home Depot for like a year ago. Okay, so I've taken the clamps, I have flushed up 2x4 with the front of this so that it's all flush and put together, which I should have done this on the other 2x4 attachments, but I'm an idiot, so there you go, I forgot. Now, you can easily see why we didn't attach everything the first time, because in order to get these proper corners, you're not putting the plywood on all 4 corners. You're putting it on the back piece, both sides. The side piece, you only hook 1 2x4 to the plywood itself. And then we are going to be using this face, this more solid face that we've created. This back side here is where the hooks are going to go in that hook in the gate. And then when we do the same thing up on this side, this is what we're going to be attaching our hinges to, as opposed to just the plywood itself, because you don't want to do that. So here we are on the other side of the pen, and we're just attaching our 4th 2x4 the same way as we attached it on this side. It offers extra stability because we've got this 3-walled freestanding unit here. So this is what it should look like before you put the gate on. So this is a 4 foot by 4 foot pen. As you can see, it is plenty large enough for 20 chicks to be able to mature to about 6 weeks in here together. And then they can all go into their much larger outdoor space when they're fully feathered. So we had a problem with the hinges. I don't know if you can really get a ratio size on your screen, but they were a lot smaller this way. And because of the pandemic, we can't just run out and get more. So we had to get creative on how we were going to put the hinges on. So this is what we've done. Let me get up from above so you can see. In order to allow the gate to properly open and to allow it to bite into the 2x4 and the side of this, you can see we went right down the middle of the 2x4, straight line. We lined up the hinge with that. And you can see that we are attached the hinges into the 2x4. And now we're going to attach them onto the plywood directly with the screws. So this was the workaround we came up with really tiny hinges, and we used 4 of them to make things more stable. So once we get this part of it screwed in, we'll be back and see how well everything works. Alrighty.
One eternity later.
And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. The 4 foot by 4 foot brooder with the metal screen to allow radiant heat entry is constructed. Let's come over and take a look. So there are 2 latches. One there. One here. And you open the gate up. You can completely clean it out very easily. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be putting a tarp down under this, but if you don't have a tarp, you can cut up some trash bags and tape them together to make kind of a padding to the floor. It'll be easy to clean and dispose of. A couple things about this brooder specifically. You can see that it's got some flexibility to it. We did not build a frame into it. There's a couple reasons for that. 1, this is cheaper and it does the job we want. 2, it's light. 3, it is very easy to take apart and relocate. It does everything we need it to do. The only big hookup for us, the only thing that was a really unexpected mess, was these hinges, which are a lot smaller. They're only about 1.25 inches long, which was not what I ordered, but it's what we got. So we put 4 of them on to steady things up. It took forever to work out how we were going to put them on, because originally they were supposed to go on the outside with the hinge in the gap to open. So for whatever reason, it took us a crazy amount of time to figure out how to reverse that. It was ridiculous. You would absolutely be ashamed of me if you knew how long it took my husband and I to figure that out. Alright, so now what we have to do is set it up and transfer the chicks. And here it is. Next day, all done. Warm, happy chicks. Hopping around. This is the radiant heater we use. You can see why we put the hardware cloth thing in there, just to radiate any heat that it takes up. But the brooder came out beautifully. The chicks are doing great. Tons of room to add the new chicks when they hatch in a week. And these guys will stay in here until they have gotten their feathers and they're able to go outside. All in all, a very good job. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I hope you guys, if you're needing to make a brooder, I hope you find this useful. And at the very least, I hope you found it entertaining. And I will see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.